the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Paulman for the vacationing Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino for the next 3 hours. Very busy program lined up with some really good guests. Pro bettor Chris Massaro on college basketball in 30 minutes. Zach Cohen will join to talk NBA a little bit later on. Aaron Moore, also he's in the Friday night college basketball invitational here, which is going to be tonight with Matt Humans and Jonathan Bontol. He's on the program and some hockey with Nick Alberga as we will recap the Four Nations event from last night, and we will get into the extremely busy card tomorrow as the NHL really returns from their long break, the midseason break. Mike, you came on the show yesterday, and you also hosted with me on Tuesday. You did the show with JVT on Monday as well, and you talked about how you bet Canada at plus 150.
Yeah.
And that was after they lost to Team USA last Saturday.
No, I bet them after the initial two games.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my
Midweek.
timeline wrong.
If you would have waited, there were places they were plus 195 right
Okay.
after they lost to USA. I got 150 after they beat Sweden in overtime and when US beat Finland 6-1 and the market moved so drastically.
You want to talk about the perfect result for you last night? Because you had that, but then you were also on the air saying you have to take a piece of overtime in this game.
The perfect result would have been 2-1 Canada or 1-0
Well, okay.
because I did ladder the unders.
Okay.
So I lose under 3.5 and 4.5. I hit 5.5 and a little in-game 5.5 as well. And then we hit the result with the overtime. And then the biggest ticket obviously was having Canada win because of the price. But I thought the game would always be a coin flip when we got to it.
Oh, sure.
And it was.
It played out exactly like that.
Same score as the 2010 gold medal match in Vancouver, right? 3-2,
Yep.
Canada in overtime.
Yep.
It would be a coin flip, and anytime you could get plus money against it, why not? It turned into, I thought after the first period, looked like a regular NHL game, right? They played like a very regular NHL game. I thought Bennington played well. You can't really blame Hellebuck.
That first goal, you cannot blame him at all.
He didn't see it, never saw
No,
it.
God, no, absolutely not. He had a zillion guys, and there was so much traffic in front of him.
And so my interesting question for Nick Alberga, amongst others, though, is, I kept saying we can translate the result to Hellebuck for Winnipeg. Well, this is a mixed result. He played well, but they lost. He still didn't win the big one.
That's right.
So what does this do for his confidence moving forward? I thought it was a terrific event. I don't know if Gary Bettman ever thought it would do this well when they came up with it, but it's juxtapositioned against the farcical NBA in terms of their All-Star weekend. All the veterans hate today's players. Today's players hate the veterans. Another terrible All-Star event. Wembayama goes. I mean, it's just like all bad news for the NBA.
It really is.
Up against all these people watching hockey for the first time and feeling, whether it's because of national pride or whatever. I remember, maybe does the NHL pick up a few fans over the last 2 weeks?
I would think so, right? Last night, perfect showcase for him, I would think. This is from David Purdom, tweeted this out earlier today. The game last night attracted more than about 2.5 times the number of customers, 2.6 times the amount of bets, and 2.3 times the total amount wagered compared to any NHL game this year. That was at Caesar Sportsbook. Overall, you were talking about the right. Maybe you guys wanted to touch like 200,000. That was pregame.
Yeah.
Did you get there?
Yeah, we did. If you would have just ranked this against a normal regular season NFL game, like of the 16 games of the week, it would probably have fallen like between the 10th and 12th.
Of an NFL game?
Damn,
no, that's strong.
It was more than what we had on the Knights either time they reached the Stanley Cup final.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that blows me away.
Yeah.
Here in this city.
Because of the national interest. And remember, we're writing in other states, too.
Well, okay, that's okay. Fair enough.
We're bigger. We have a lot
You've
more
expanded.
outreach than we did then, too. So
very
it's
true.
not
Okay.
apples to apples. But
Overall, though, I thought, you're exactly right. Super solid. You guys also take big bets live betting.
Mm-hmm.
You'll take like huge limits on that kind of stuff. And I think you guys write a lot typically in the NHL, do you not, with in play?
we do it at the periods, though. So
Sure.
it's the finite. It's not a running clock like other books do where it's up the whole time. But we take sizable bets after the first period and after the second period.
All
and
right.
then, and in this case, going into overtime.
Now, do you think a lot of discussion here about whether or not they could do this like every year? Is that too much? Does it take away from how special it was?
Well, next year we'll have the Olympics. But
Yeah, right.
let's think about, maybe they do it the off 2 years of the Olympics. They do it in cycle every 4 years. Let's think about as this plays out. How many teams lost guys that might be out for the rest of the year? How are the owners going to feel about this at the end? If it severely hurt the chances of their teams, knocked them out of a Stanley Cup run or knocked them out of the playoffs. I know the Bruins are very angry right now.
A great point.
They're very mad at the Wild staff. And I say Wild staff. They're specifically saying Team USA staff, but it's the Wild's trainers, right? And it was funny because I was on with Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis yesterday morning on VSiN by the Books, and I was talking about this. And Jensen Lewis was talking about the worst job in the world for a trainer in baseball is the All-Star game, because they have to be communicating with every club about what's his routine, what can he do, what can he not do, because they're trying to appease these pitchers that are from every club and put it all together. So it's very difficult for a training staff. But then when you go back and you look at the history of the Minnesota injuries this year too, it may be some cause for alarm. The Bruins are mad. McAvoy suffered the injury in the first game against Finland and then went out and played against Canada. Of course, had the 2 huge hits on McDavid and really set the tone for that game. But now he's probably gone for the year.
Yeah, that hurts. So, I mean, I get it. Maybe if it was one and done, people would be pissed off about that. I don't think that would probably be the best idea. But maybe like less is more with this event, though, too. I mean, it'd be great to have it every single year, but that's just not reality, right? And also, Adam Silver is a progressive thinking commissioner. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that he's done in the NBA. He has to be, I would think, right, thinking about what the NHL just did, thinking to himself, my God, they blew us out of the water with the All-Star break. And I have to somehow figure out a way to copy this. And it might be like Giannis might be onto something when he said we have to have the world versus Team USA.
Danny Parkins, who's formerly in Chicago on the air, and now he's on Fox Sports, proposed this. That's the only way to fix it: USA versus the world.
I think they might that might exactly be the only thing that can actually save it, honestly, because and it just drives me nuts. Like if you compare the egos of the two sports, those players were like going into that tournament, they were willing to like die for their countries, right? Which was awesome in the NHL. And yet here you have Mac McClung, who doesn't even play in the NBA, win the dunk contest. And Ja Morant tweets, man, if he keeps dunking like this, I might have to come out and try it. And then Giannis is like, if you do it, I'll do it. Stop it. Knock it off. You're just a bunch of babies out there, and you're lying, and you'll never do it because you're pansies.
Would they play for Team USA against the world?
They might do that, but they're too afraid to participate, like in the dunk contest, which tells you all you need to know about that stupid sport. And I like the NBA. I'm just pissed off about how the egos get in. Really, they step in the front of a lot of things here with that sport.
I saw the tweet: McClung dunking over the car that he might be sleeping in.
No, that was cousin Sal sent it out. Yeah. But doesn't that drive you nuts? Oh, I might have to come out there and do it. So after the game last night, and we watched it at Bar Canada, did you feel dirty at all cashing that ticket?
No.
And rooting for Canada?
Ridiculous. Why? I wasn't overtly rooting for Canada.
We were drinking Canadian beer.
And I wasn't upset when Canada scored, right? It was funny, though, when they scored the game winner in overtime. I would have said 35 to 40% of the bar cheered. Now, is that because they were Canadian or they had a ticket on Team Canada? It's probably because it definitely was not a majority Canadian crowd like it was Saturday night. And I told you I thought it would be a more pro-USA crowd on a weekday.
But I also thought it was a civil crowd last night.
It was very civil.
Oh, yeah.
The rowdy guys were those Wisconsinites that were sitting in front of.
Oh, can I tell you this, by the way? They were from, like a group of 6 guys from Wisconsin, where I'm from. I don't know any of them. But when I told them, like in between one of the breaks at the game, and I went over, we're chit-chatting a little bit. Hey, where are you from? Yada, yada, yada. I said, by the way, like I don't really, if Canada wins tonight, like I don't have a bad word to say about Canada. I grew up 4 hours from there. My dad took us fishing like every single summer. I have a ton of friends in Canada. They looked at me sideways. I was like, okay, all right, sorry guys.
But they're not from where you're from.
No, they're like from Milwaukee, about 4.5 hours from me, but still they were like.
They're more city people too.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like you're small. You're like more small town Western Minnesota than you are. I mean,
BFE is where I'm from. Yeah.
Like if we want to go to your place, we fly to Minneapolis.
Oh, you have to.
And
that's
drive.
A 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, we don't have a stoplight. There is no fast food restaurant.
What's the population?
1,100.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How many kids were in your graduating class in high school?
56, give or take. So we played craps after the game last night as well. I have to tell you, I thought about this morning. I honestly think it might have been, to put a timestamp on this, it might have been the first time I have played craps since I met my wife, and that was 2008. I don't think I play, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
And how
clearly.
many times did you play before you met your wife?
I actually played. I was getting into it a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But I have no recollection of the game. I've been away from it for like, what is it now, 17 years? I have no clue how to play craps. And it showed last night, huh?
Well, we helped you.
Yeah, you did, yes.
We helped you.
Was it
Sex
frustrating, though?
precedent? No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. That lady next to us said you guys brought some energy to the table.
Oh, we
You
did that for sure. And it was a pretty hot table, though, for some
Yeah,
people.
we had a couple. We had a 40 roll and 3 or 4 20 rolls. It wasn't bad.
That's strong.
Wasn't bad. You made a few dollars.
I made a few
Adam
bucks
Burke
here
made
and
a
there.
few dollars.
I think had I tailed you guys more, I would have, cleaned
Well,
up.
you weren't really pressing, right? And you were
yeah.
playing pretty conservatively.
That I was. I mean, we sat there for how long we were there? How long was I there playing with you?
Well, what time did you leave? I don't know.
I was there like an hour, 90 minutes, probably something like that. I never even picked up on the game.
Oh, I think you were there 2 hours.
Oh, okay. I never picked up on the game, though, the whole time.
Really?
Never.
It's like the NBA.
It's
You
kinda
can watch
similar.
it, or you can't pick up on
Right.
it.
You're like, we could go out and play craps right now during the break.
And you
I
won't know
no
what you're
clue.
doing still?
Absolutely no idea.
Well, you'd had a few Canadian beers in you as
well,
well.
that I did. Those are strong, by the way.
So 9%, that one we were,
Yes.
whatever, some French name.
Yes. So anyway, overall fun night. Congratulations on cashing the ticket. And I mean, you just said it right there. It would be like the 10th game on an NFL Sunday with the handle.
It was really good. Tom Gable talked about it this morning.
Yeah, same thing compared to an NHL Stanley Cup game.
Yep.
So it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. College basketball coming up next. We have a monster game on the schedule tonight, and it could determine the conference winner in the regular season.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More college basketball here as professional sports bettor Chris Massaro joins the program. He is in the Friday Night Invitational during the college basketball season as well. You'll get his picks a little bit later on tonight with Matt Humans and Jonathan Von Tobel. He's on the Progressive guest line. Thanks for popping on today, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I love talking college hoops. Nothing better.
You bet. So, again, we talked about this game right before you came on. Big one tonight in the Big Ten. We like these Friday night games that they've been putting on and playing all year long. And Michigan is a small favorite at home against Michigan State. Do you have an opinion on the side or the total tonight?
Yeah, I kind of like Michigan State. I played it last night at +3 and a little at +3.5 at two different spots. I saw the line move down to 2.5, and now it's kind of moving back against me. 3s and 3.5s out there. But, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Michigan. They've had a great season. But over the last 9 games, they've had some really close calls. They had a loss in overtime to Minnesota, an overtime win to Northwestern. They got blown out by Purdue, and now they're on a 6-game winning streak. But they've won all 6 games by a total of 19 points, and none by more than 4 points. And they haven't really faced a murderer's row. They beat Penn State, Rutgers, Oregon. The Indiana game was a toss-up down the last minute. The Purdue game, again, they were down by 8 with 10 minutes to go, came back and won. And then last Sunday, Ohio State, the kid Thornton missed a 2-foot bunny, airballed a 2-footer to tie the game with 2 seconds left. So these games could have gone either way. So I'm not taking anything away from them. I like Michigan State tonight. I think they have the 3 bigs that are going to rotate to try to keep Wolf and Golden off the boards. That's the key to this game tonight. Eliminating the second chance opportunities for Michigan. And I think Coach Izzo getting the 3 points in a huge rivalry game. And it's Dusty May's first rivalry matchup, the Michigan State matchup. I just like the 3 points of Michigan State. And that's why I'd be a little cautious of hedging your Big Ten total right away. It's kind of a tough spot. You'd hate to have Michigan State win tonight, and then you're in for extra money on the bet.
How would you approach that then? Again, for those just tuning in, we talked about that earlier on. I have a nickel on Wisconsin at 20-1 to win the Big Ten. They have 4 losses right now. Michigan has 2. Michigan State has 3. I love Wisconsin's path. I think they could maybe run the table, maybe one more loss coming. But how would you approach that if you were me?
Yeah, if I was you, I would say if you just want to try to get your money back and secure the 500, and it's not a bad move because that bet is going to pay 10,000. I would say maybe take Michigan money line tonight, and if they win, they're probably going to win the Big Ten. But the question is, if they lose, they have 2 tough road games coming up. Nebraska, who's been really tough at home all year, and then Michigan State to close the season. Plus, they play Maryland at home. Now, Maryland's path is I wouldn't say it's easy, but the Michigan game is key, because if they win that Michigan game and they finish the season at 15-5 in the Big Ten, they win all the tiebreakers versus everyone else, because they already beat Wisconsin if Wisconsin gets one more loss. So it's kind of tough to hedge it at the moment. I have a ticket that I use with the alt total in the Super Bowl with Maryland for the Big Ten title that pays a substantial amount as well. So maybe we might have to hook up and maybe figure out a way where if Michigan and Michigan State doesn't win it, we might be able to cash some money on if Maryland or Wisconsin gets the money.
What do you think, Mike?
I love it.
You love it?
Remember, I want to give out the Christmas tickets. I would give you. I give you Maryland to win the Big Ten.
You did.
Yeah, Chris. I want to ask you about a game that maybe is flying under the radar a little bit in Dallas tomorrow. Clemson at SMU. Clemson sitting at 13-2 in the ACC. SMU at 11-4, but they don't have a win over a top 25 team. This would be huge for their resume if they could beat Clemson. Clemson, a short road favorite, 1.5.
Yeah, this is a game where you look at SMU's schedule, and because of the just the depravity of the ACC, they don't have a quad one win. So they pretty much need this game to get in the tournament. The problem is this Clemson team, veteran laden, they made the Elite Eight run last year. And I'm glad you asked me about this, because I remember last year you had the big ticket for them to win the whole thing, and it was a crazy triple-digit number. And I was watching them play, and they got me a couple times this year. But this Clemson team, I've turned my cheek to them. I'm on them now. I think they're a legit team, probably not to win it, but to make it to the Final Four. And I was over in Phoenix last week, and I played a couple tickets with Clemson to make the Final Four at 18-1. I was actually lucky to hook them up with a couple of live golf bets with A-Bear. So I have some nice tickets on Clemson and Maryland for Final Four. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't want to lay it with SMU. They got and if Boopy's not playing, I don't think they can beat Clemson. I'd have to wait to see what the injury report looks like in that game.
You know, Chris, there was a situation with Clemson a couple of weeks back, and it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, professional sports bettor Chris Massaro, live from San Diego, and he is on the Progressive guest line. The situation was, Clemson had to have that game. Well, they didn't have to have it, but they played a really great game against Duke, national TV, and then the quick turnaround bounce-back game. Everybody faded Clemson because the situation was awful for them, right? And they pounded North Carolina. So, overall, what has it been like? What are your observations overall? Jonathan Von Tobel had a great breakdown on this earlier in the week. Like, situational betting in college basketball, not as easy as it has been in previous years, huh?
No, that is exactly correct. And that Monday, I was on North Carolina. I bet them during the Super Bowl with some stuff on the Eagles, and I had +6 come in closing parlays to them. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a lock. It's the spot of the year. Clemson off the Duke win, and the line crashed all the way to 3.5 before the tip, and it was lights out. Clemson, North Carolina had absolutely nothing. The spot plays are just not the same this year, and I'm not sure if it's travel, NIL, or just the tax that the sports book is charging you. These spots are just not as automatic as they used to be. And tomorrow there's a bunch of them. Arkansas +2 at home against Missouri. Missouri off the big Bama win. 9 times out of 10 in the past 10 years, that's an automatic play. But now I'm thinking it's not. So you just got to take a step back and try to find value in different places. And one of the ways I've done it this past season, and it's really come to fruition in the last couple of weeks, is these travel spots where a team from the ACC or the Big Ten. Let's use UCLA, for example. Last week, they had the tough game against Illinois. They lost. They were leading the whole way. They blew it at the end. Then they went to Indiana for the really close call on Friday night where the basket didn't count. I was all upset about it. But then they travel for the perceived easy game at home against Minnesota. They were laying 13. Minnesota wins the game. Not only covers, they win the game outright. The same situation happened with Oregon the week before. They had 2 tough games in the Midwest. They come home for the perceived easy game versus Northwestern laying 9. They only won by 6. Happened in the Big 12 last week as well. Arizona State comes 2 games out in the Midwest, comes home for the perceived easy game versus TCU laying 5. They lose outright. So there's a couple spots like that tomorrow. It works the other way too. Like Minnesota, after a nice sweep of the Southern California teams, USC and UCLA last weekend. Now they come home to face a miserable Penn State team. That's the perceived easy game. I think Minnesota might be -2. Penn State hasn't won a game on the road all year. that's a spot where I might look at Penn State tomorrow.
Very good. Chris, we could talk to you for a full hour. It flew by. We're up against it here. But the next time that you're in Las Vegas, come in studio. Hopefully that's going to be during March Madness, and we'll really rifle out a lot of games and have more future talk, okay?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll be out there pretty soon for championship week and hopefully stay maybe 10 or 12 days.
Oh, awesome. Very good. Good luck in the contest tonight.
All right, thanks
All right,
a lot,
see you
guys.
soon, Chris.
There you go. We got Chris Massero, pro sports bettor on the Progressive Guest Line. He's going to be, you can get his picks, vsin.com. Also, listen tonight to the show, the Friday College Basketball Invitational with Humans and Von Tobel.
Yes, very good. He finished third in the football contest.
He did.
Kenny White.
Alex White.
Alex White finished second, and Chuck Edel won it.
The Iceman.
Yeah, Kenny White's daughter. So nice crew. Mitch, have you ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet?
They certainly have.
Well, we know Lorraine, but even the bank. Ever needed cash at 2 a.m. to take a shot at the craps tables, but you've hit your ATM limit? Edge Boost has your back. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. With Edge Boost, all your gambling-related transactions will always be approved. No more headaches. For you high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works 24/7 for instant deposits. Never wait for a wire to clear again. It gets better. Every time you deposit into a gambling account, you earn cashback rewards up to 0.5 percentage point. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. This is a bank account, not a credit card, so there is no approval required or credit checks. Finally, Edge Boost has a suite of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll and make more informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to edgeboost.bet. That's edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code FTM for Follow the Money to start at Tier 2 to get faster bank transfers and higher cash back rewards. Sign up for Edge Boost today.
It's a terrific idea, obviously, with those huge limits that you just heard about. Here's what I hate. I tried to use the ATM during the football season at a spot here in town. For some reason, it would only allow me to wire money in. So by the time I was done, accepting it, the fee came to $59, I believe. I'm like,
that's like the credit card cash withdrawals.
Yeah,
advances,
that's
right?
exactly. I'm like, what just happened? I wasn't even drinking or anything like that. I'm like, how did I get duped on this thing? That's not going to happen at Edge Boost.
I used to carry a lot of cash on me, but
I remember that.
Yeah, my wife said it's just nonsense.
Yeah,
you're creating safety risk for yourself.
I don't like doing it either. Yeah, so I have a story about that I'll share about somebody walking by the studio sometime with an empty duffel bag recently.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Big NBA card tonight. Lots to bet on. Zach Cohen joins the program now, senior editor at the website here, vsin.com. He puts out plays with a great analysis every single day throughout the entire year on this sport and several others, and he's on the Progressive Guest Line. Zach, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing really well. I want to begin here before we get into some of your plays for tonight. I heard you on with the fellas on Primetime following us. It was after the Spurs, I think, played their first game maybe with De'Aaron Fox, and you were super high in San Antonio. And I was right there with you. I'm like, oh my God, if this team makes the playoffs now, they're going to be super dangerous. Well, then we got the Wemby news yesterday. Completely stinks. You wrote about this as well. Where did you want to gravitate in terms of maybe grabbing a player for Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, so I think you could go in a number of different ways. I personally believe that Dyson Daniels has been the best defender of basketball outside of Wembanyama this year. I just think that the advanced stats, with his steals percentage is number one in the league, his steals per game is number one in the league. Basketball Index has the toughest perimeter matchup for opposing players, and I think just generally speaking, he's been one of the toughest covers for opposing guards all year long. So I think that there's a really good shot he plays his way into this, but I do think that there's the line of thinking that the Thunder have a historically good defense. Somebody on that team deserves to win the award. So I kind of think it's interesting to see how the MVP market's going to unfold, because if you look at most of these defensive metrics, SGA is at the top of the list for all of them.
Yep.
And I know that he's not really, I might not even consider him a top 5 defender on his own team, but the stats tell a different story. I think at 40-1, he might be worth a shot because of that.
I look back at the history. I only saw three players ever to win the NBA and the Defensive Player of the Year in the same year, but it has happened. Jordan did it back in the late 80s. Hakeem Olajuwon, my favorite center of all time. Side note, loved the guy. And then more recently, in 2020, Giannis won it I brought that up to Von Tobel, though, Zach, and his response was, well, he's guy that's down low, and SGA is a perimeter guy. But would that factor in?
Well, honestly, my line of thinking of that, I still think the Joker can win MVP. So I wonder if we get a scenario where, Jokic steals the MVP back, and then, we get the SGA winning Defensive Player of the Year because they want to throw him a bone and give him something. I just think that, with the Nuggets now winning 9 games straight, approaching that Phil Jackson 40 before 20 mark, if they win 3 games in a row, that team is just so bad that I think that people are going to really reconsider, giving Joker MVP again. This has been the best season of his career. He's a 2-time MVP. I think that he deserves it.
Speaking of JVT, he had a nice winner with the Bucks last night over the Clippers, but they're on a back-to-back, going to take on the 9-45 Washington Wizards. And you love a side here, Zach.
Yeah, so I grabbed Washington at plus 7.5 this morning. The injury news has gone my way. It's now 5.5. I would still take the Wizards here. I honestly think the Wizards are going to win this game outright. Wow. I just think Milwaukee has been very bad, on the second night of back-to-backs under Doc Rivers. It's 6-11 against the spread. But this is an interesting scenario where there's no Damian Lillard. I believe Giannis is on a minutes restriction. We got the Bobby Portis news a couple of days ago. That rotation has already taken a hit. And it's the Wizards, playing with Chris Middleton for the first time. I think it's going to be an emotional game.
And this year, so not including what Doc Rivers did last year as the coach, only this year now, Zach, I have the Bucks at 2-7-1 ATS on a back-to-back.
Yep.
So it speaks into exactly what you're talking about there. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're talking NBA and best bets for tonight with the senior editor over at VSiN.com, Zach Cohen. You can follow him on X. He's at Betting on X. There's a player prop that you like tonight in the Grizzlies and Magic game. Who do you want to attack?
I went with Caldwell Pope over 1.5 made threes at plus 155. This is something that I've gone to a few times this season. I've been burned a little bit. Caldwell Pope has not shot the 3-ball well for Orlando, and the signing has kind of not worked out the way that they thought it would in the offseason. But I do think this Grizzlies team, for as good as they can be defensively, they're giving up more made threes per game than all but 5 teams in the NBA this year. Caldwell Pope is still playing 30 or so minutes per night. And I do think that with players like him, you have to look at their track record for their entire career in terms of 3-point shooting, not just a small sample size of a half of a season. This is a guy that shot 40% from 3 in back-to-back seasons heading into this year. He's now down at like 30% this season. I think that's going to go up the rest of the way. I think now that they have guys healthy, he's getting better looks at the rim, and I think he's going to get some really good looks in this game that has a pretty high total for a Magic game.
Yeah, it does. Okay, another high total tonight is between the Pistons and the Spurs. A lot of points expected in this game, obviously, and you want to attack it from a guy and his assist prop, right?
Yes, I have Devin Vassell to go over 2.5 assists. The real line for this one is 1.5, and it's heavily juiced to the over. I took an alternate over 2.5 at plus 180. I put a little bit of something on this. He did not have any assists last night against the Suns, but in terms of potential assists and just setting guys up and making plays for him, he's been doing a really good job, even with De'Aaron Fox in the mix. I just think that he is a good playmaker that is going to still get on ball reps, especially now that Wembanyama's out with no more usage right there. I just think this is a little bit of an overreaction to what we saw last night against Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. You got a good number here, by the way, on Keon Ellis in this Warriors-Kings game, huh?
Yeah, I went over 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists there, and he's gone over this mark in 4 of his last 6. Honestly, he had 27 points 2 games ago. This is a guy that can feel it up offensively when he's given, the minutes to do it. He's a great defender, though, and that's why I think he's going to be on the court tonight. I just think they're going to need him against Steph Curry tonight. So I think he's going to get close to 30 minutes. If he does, you should expect some points and some rebounds, and he's a pretty good decision maker. He's not a guy that's going to, fill up the stat sheet in terms of assists, but he could probably pick up 1 or 2 if he does play 30.
There you go. And that total in that game is 236 again. And finally here, I like it when you're right about this, taking out numbers and your approach, and you're going to do it with like 3 different teams combined here tonight, right?
I did it with 2. I've been doing this a lot this season, kind of playing around with it. I just think if you shop around for alt numbers, you can occasionally get a price that you're not going to see anywhere else. I got a minus 117 tonight with it was the Raptors, the Heat plus 7.5 against the Raptors, and Kings plus 7.5 against the Warriors. This was minus 17. It's out there at like minus 145 elsewhere. So I've been trying to play these where I have like strong leans on games. With the Heat playing the Raptors, I was a little bit nervous about the normal spread because Toronto's just been awesome as an against the spread team at home this year. But I do think Miami coming off a long break, that's a dangerous spot with Eric Spoelstra just having, some time to prepare. And I do think that this Heat team is going to be pretty solid down the stretch with the moves they made in moving Butler. So I think this is now their first time being being, truly healthy with this team, with a good matchup against the Raptors. I took the 7.5 to, be a little bit safe. And with the Kings and Warriors, I was really confused when I first saw that number. I think Sacramento's a better team than Golden State moving forward. And I think that I did not take it on the money line, but I was very tempted. I ended up going with this because I do think there's a chance that I'm a little lower on the Warriors than most teams, but that floor spacing to me is going to catch up to them at some point.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Zach, you're a Suns guy, right?
Yep, I'm a Suns fan. I had to watch that game last night. I missed the Four Nations. It was awful.
Oh, boy.
What?
Oh, and they played like that for you. So the question here is, you can't possibly justify betting on, and they're playing a bad Chicago team tomorrow. I'm looking, it looks like they're laying about 4.5 points. I can't, they're only fade material, right?
I think so. It's really hard to play them, and if you are playing them, laying points is out of the question. They just do not play, hard on a nightly basis. I think that they've made some decent swaps over the last few games. Putting Bol in there has given them a little bit of a spark, but they also took Ryan Dunn out of the rotation. That's the only guy on the team that really wants to play any defense on the perimeter. So it's been a really bad situation for the Suns. It's only going to get worse the rest of the season, and do think the team's going to blow it up in the offseason.
Totally agree. I wonder if Budenholzer puts his head on the pillow at night with big time regret. He's like, I did not see this one coming. Nobody else did, really.
I keep thinking that maybe they're going to give Bud a chance to be part of building the next version of the team because he is an Arizona guy and he does have a good mind for the game. I thought that the first 11 games of the season, they started out, they're shooting a lot of threes. They were playing defense, playing Bud ball at a very high level. But then, the first Durant injury kind of derailed everything.
You can follow Zach on X. He's at Betting on X. Michael?
Yeah, real quick, Zach, Andreeva tomorrow in the women's in Dubai?
So I like Andreeva, but I wasn't willing to go with minus 190. I ended up going over 21.5 because I do think that if Andreeva wins, it's still going to be a fight. Clara Towson is a very good server, very good power player. I think she has a really high floor in matches just because when you have those abilities, to rack up holds, you're going to see some kind of longer sets. And I do think Andreeva, for as good as she looked against Rybakina today, that was a match in which, her nerves got to her to a bit. She kind of gave away the second set and then kind of sputtered to start the third. She was able to get it back on track, but if she does that again, I think Towson can take advantage.
Very good. Zach, you put out great stuff on the website every single day. Dynamite job with the analysis. Good luck tonight and this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
There you go, Zach Cohen.
He was terrific on tennis. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, he's awesome on tennis.
I wanted to get his opinion on the match. Ready to get on the action? First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day, right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. And use the promo code VSIN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com.
We have a lot to get to over the final hour and 20 minutes of the program. VSIN contributor, college basketball handicapper Aaron Morris coming up at the top of the hour. We'll get into college basketball ourselves. Nick Alberga is going to join us to talk Four Nations and also this weekend in the NHL making its return with a full card tomorrow. And up next, an interesting trade idea in the NFL that could potentially shift the landscape. I'm not so sure of the conference, but definitely of a division. I'll run that by you next here and Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome in. Mitch Moss along with Mike Palm in today for the vacationing Paulie Howard, who returns on Monday. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino, and we'll talk some NHL here and recap the Four Nations title game last night that went to overtime with the Canadians winning 3-2. As Nick Alberga joins the program now, you can follow him on X. He's at the Golden Muzzy, and he is with the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Nick, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm feeling very golden, guys. How are you today?
Doing well. I'll run this by you because Jeff Davis is the man in charge of all the NHL numbers here at Circa. Back in November, he bought tickets for the event, hoping that it was going to be USA and Canada playing in the title game. He told me going into it, it had a chance to be the best sporting event he'll ever attend. And I asked him how it was last night, and his response was it was a 10 out of a 10. The building was absolutely electric. I'm guessing you felt the same exact way, and then the result probably didn't hurt for you?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where I look back and I have sort of like a similar story, but somebody asked me if I wanted to go to the gold medal game or the championship game in Boston like a month ago. And I was like, nah, I don't know what to expect from this tournament. And all I could do watching that game was just feel really, really bad that I missed out on such an opportunity. But I think, you hit the nail on the head. It's just like you look at this tournament, the magnitude. I do feel like it was the perfect storm with everything going on in North America as well right now. But I just think the level of hockey is something we've been craving for a long, long time. And to get it, I thought it was tremendous. And I already can't wait for next year in Italy.
Yeah, I want to ask you that. How will you rank this tournament, this four nation face-off with the Olympic competition? Is it level up to you, or is the Olympics at a whole nother level?
It's going to be different if you're talking on the ice because of the officiating. I think the cool aspect, guys, of this tournament was the fact that it was NHL refs, so there was fighting. At the Olympics, you can't fight. So I wonder, what kind of impact that has. On top of that, like, they call every penalty in the IIHF. It's a lot different. I think it's the one thing I really noticed in this tournament. If you were taking like power play point props, you probably weren't very successful. So I expect the game to be a bit different. Very curious again to see if Russia ends up being in this tournament. I think that was, they were missing like big time. And, obviously the World Juniors are big here in Canada and also in the States, and Russia's been missing for a while, and they're like a hockey power. So it's a lot of it's going to depend on Russia being there too.
Do you think if Russia was in this, if they had let Russia be one of the four nations, say instead of Finland, they would have been the favorites?
I still think the States would have been the favorite. It would probably be the States, Canada, Russia. I just think you look at that American roster going into the tournament, like there's a reason why they were framed as the team to beat. So that's probably the way I would do it. 1, 2, 3 there.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some betting takeaways that we can gain from this. Now, I thought that this was a huge game for Hellebuyck because he's never really won a big game. He's been so bad in the play. He played well but lost, right? Does this give him any confidence moving forward in the playoffs? Does it give any more confidence in Winnipeg in the West in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I think to a degree. I will say, as somebody who bet the over on Connor Hellebuyck's saves, I was just so disappointed. I think he had like 26 yesterday. I'm like, come on, just make like a couple more saves and we're feeling good about life today. But it's tough because that's a really good question, in the fact that it's not really being spoken about a lot in our country today. In Canada, is like in Winnipeg. Like, that's been the big story, similar to what I deal with on a daily basis here in Toronto. Like Matthews and Marner and those guys have really struggled in pressure cooker type situations. The same could be said, as you just talked about, with Hellebuyck in Winnipeg. Like last year, they were tremendous, and they get to the playoffs and it's like a different team. But you can't help but like look at his body of work this season and suggest he's going to win the Vezina Trophy #1. But I think it's got to be a mental hurdle that he climbs in the playoffs, very similar to like what a Matthews deals with, what a Marner deals with. But I certainly think it gives you confidence for sure.
Yeah, I look at it. I mean, he's been the best goalie in the world the last 3 years and done nothing with it. I mean, Vasilevsky was the best goalie in the world and converted it to cups. I mean, and he just hasn't had any sort of conversion at all. I think this is an interesting prop we see every year, Canada versus USA to win the Stanley Cup. I'm looking around. Consensus is sort of Canada plus 260. You're getting Edmonton. You're getting Toronto. You're getting Vancouver. Ottawa will be in the play. Is that worth a bet that Canada will win the Cup this year at plus 260?
The odds are not in our favor, but I will say, like, there's just some sort of determination right now, guys, to Connor McDavid. They were my pick to win the Cup prior to starting the season. They were the betting favorites, so, like, I really didn't go out on a limb. But I believe in the whole, like, Crosby thing from, like, a decade or 15 years ago, where he went to the Cup final, dealt with it. It was a good experience, and comes back and wins it the next year. And I truly feel like it's a very determined Connor McDavid. I felt like it was a passing the torch type moment last night, where Crosby scores in 2010 in the Olympics. He was the best player on the planet at the time. And now McDavid does it. Like, of course it was McDavid who wins that game. And he's just the type of player, very few of them in professional sports, that can just go a long way in dictating a series specifically. And I do think we get to the playoffs and McDavid puts it in overdrive and says, like, we're not losing this time around. So I'm a believer in this country. It's a long time coming. The last time, 1993, Montreal Canadiens winning the Stanley Cup. So history suggests it'll happen at some point in time here.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Nick Alberga. You can follow him on X at the Golden Muzzy. He's also with the Leafs Nation as well, host there of the Leafs Morning Take. Okay, so then in terms of maybe like McDavid tomorrow and other guys who were in the game last night, this is all narrative based here, I think anyway, unless you like read clippings and listen to the coaches, right, who might say the ice time might be a little bit shorter tomorrow because they are coming off of this war and it went to overtime on Thursday night. Is there anything with maybe playing some of the player props under tomorrow who were in the game last night?
I think so, for sure. Like, I know for a fact there's a bunch of players banged up. I don't even know if they'll play, to be quite honest about it. But I think there's got to be an element of fatigue. The fact that they played on Thursday, I don't understand the extra day off. And now on McDavid's sake, I think it's an afternoon game. And on top of that, oh, yeah, you're playing John Tortorella and the Philadelphia Flyers. I think it's going to be a very physical game, right back at it. He's played some really meaningful hockey. These games were like game sevens. They were playoff games for sure. So definitely a market I would look at. Having said that, one guy I do like to maybe look at and target tomorrow is Mitch Marner. Just because of everything I talked about earlier on, like it's just been a mental hurdle for this guy in pressure cooker situations. And I thought he was phenomenal. Like I gave him his flowers on my show today on social media as well. And maybe Mitch Marner is a guy you look at against the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow for like a point prop, shot prop. He's got to be just, oozing with confidence right now, I would say.
Do you think we'll ever see this again? McAvoy might be out for the year. Theodore, the owners are going to look at this and the GMs and say, this was great, but did it derail our chances at a Stanley Cup playing this kind of event? Do you think we see Four Nations again?
Mike, what I will tell you, and it's been discussed already, I think the plan is to have a World Cup every 2 years. So we see best on best hockey every 2 years. I think the big curiosity for me, though, is like there's been a lot of discussion around maybe doing the tournament in September. I don't even know if the players would sign off on that, but I think it's a fair point to bring up. Like that was my concern covering the Maple Leafs. It's like their three best players were in this tournament. And then, for example, the Washington Capitals, who could be primed to win the President's Trophy this season, they got their rest, right? They licked their wounds. They got Alex Ovechkin chasing history. And so, like, that's a really meaningful conversation to be had, I think, in the hockey world. But, yeah, that's the plan. Every 2 years, we're going to get a World Cup, and then the 2 other years will be the Olympics. I'm excited, though. I think it was obviously an amazing tournament and a really cool experience.
I come away with this with one question unanswered, and I don't know if you can shed light on this, but how is Paul Maurice not part of the Canadian staff?
You're right. They're just so stacked, and maybe it's favoritism. I think it's always interesting during the course of a tournament too, where the media was going after John Cooper. Like you were going after John Cooper. That's my guy. And look, he just pulled all the right strings, even moving Marner up the lineup yesterday, having faith in Binnington. Like, there's a reason why these guys are there, but I think you make an excellent point. Paul Maurice has done an incredible job really finding his way with the Florida Panthers. I think the rub-off on some of his former players as well. I watch Oliver Ekman-Larsson on a daily basis. Just it's very Paul Maurice. And you're right. At the end of the day, when there's an embarrassment of riches and the States is the same thing, somebody's going to be left out and undoubtedly not very happy about it.
Nick, about 45 seconds left. Numbers are out. It is a loaded schedule tomorrow. You're right. That Edmonton-Philadelphia game starts at 1 o'clock Eastern and 10 o'clock out here. But anything else on the card that you like so far?
To your point, I think just like riding the momentum, riding the wave. I think there's a couple of injury returns as well. Boone Jenner is a guy I would look at Columbus Blue Jackets. I think that was a team that direly needed a break. So maybe you back Columbus. I think any of those teams that are on the bubble that need meaningful games right now, I think now is the time you're going to get the value as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. And it's a tough time in general to bet. You guys will see in the next couple of weeks, players are going to be plucked in and out of the lineup. Like even Carolina, I hate the value in the Canes because there's rumors that Mikko Rantanen could get traded again, if you can believe it, because they can't re-sign this guy. So there's a lot of moving parts this time of year when it comes to trades and betting in the NHL.
Nick, that was awesome. Thanks so much for the time. Good luck this weekend.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
you
Nicky.
too. There you go. Nick Alberga. Follow him on X at the Golden Muzzy. Up next in Pocket Plays. This is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun to go over next year on VSiN.